You're watching All 24 News World News Program, and up next are the headlines. Sudan's army repels a major RSF attack. The US is now accusing the RSF of atrocities and moving to label them a terrorist group, a move that is welcomed by the Sudanese government. In Gaza, one Palestinian is killed in a Zionist raid on Jabalia as bombing continues across the Strip, while extremist settlers burn a mosque in the West Bank. Algeria and the UN review Libya's latest developments, with the Algerian Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf reaffirming support for ongoing UN efforts. Welcome back. The Sudanese army says it has repelled a major attack by the Rapid Support Forces on the city of Merawi in the northern state. In a statement, the 19th Infantry Division reported intercepting several suicide drones targeting its headquarters, the airport, and the Merawi Dam. The army says its air defenses shot down all the drones before they reached their targets and affirmed full readiness to confront any new threats in the region. The Sudanese army says it killed dozens of RSF members in heavy fighting in West Kordofan state. Army sources told All 24 News that the RSF heavily shelled the city of Bab Nusa, targeting the military's 22nd Division headquarters. The army says it fired back, destroying the launch sites and killing more than 100 RSF fighters. In a separate strategic strike, the army says its air force had a major RSF supply convoy headed for central Darfur. That operation in the city of Zalingi reported destroyed fuel, ammunition, and heavy equipment, dealing with, or what the army calls, a significant blow to RSF's logistics. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says humanitarian reports show record levels of malnutrition and suffering among people fleeing the war in Sudan. Rubio said Washington would back labeling the Rapid Support Forces as a terrorist organization if it helps end the conflict. He added that discussions on the proposal have taken place in the U.S. Senate in recent months and expressed concern that the drop in refugee numbers may signal rising deaths from hunger and disease.
And I think something needs to be done to cut off the weapons and the support that the RSF is getting as they continue with their advances. I think it's telling, the humanitarian groups are telling us that some of the levels of malnutrition and suffering that they're seeing from some of these people who have been able to flee is unprecedented. They've recorded things they've never recorded before. And I think even more troubling is that they didn't have the number of refugees they expected to receive because they assume many of them are either dead or so sick and malnourished they can't move anymore. So what's happening there is horrifying.
Sudan's foreign ministry has welcomed remarks by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio as a step toward holding the Rapid Support Forces and their allies accountable. Foreign Minister Muhyiddin Salem said naming the RSF and the mercenaries they employ as responsible for massacres against civilians helps correct the international community's understanding of the conflict in the country.
We hope that Marco Rubio's statements will mark the beginning of real accountability for the terrorist militia, holding to account all those who supported it, supplied it with weapons, or opened their territories for the entry of weapons and mercenaries, as well as those who politically supported it and promoted it regionally and internationally.
Sudan's transitional government now says more than 85% of the rebel Rapid Support Forces are foreign mercenaries. A top official, Yasser Atta, vows the army will keep fighting. He says Sudan wants a lasting peace, not a temporary truce, and that the war will not stop until every single foreign fighter who came to kill the Sudanese people is driven out. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres says civilians in Sudan are facing catastrophic conditions as the fighting intensifies. He warned that the flow of weapons and foreign fighters into the country is deepening the crisis and prolonging the war, with no signs yet of the ceasefire on the horizon. Switching focus to another topic on news story in the Middle East. A Palestinian was killed Wednesday evening after occupation forces opened fire in the Jabalia refugee camp in northern Gaza. Medical sources say the shooting targeted residents in the area, killing one person. The attack comes as the occupation continues demolishing buildings in eastern Gaza. Zionist warplanes struck Beit Lahia in northern Gaza early Thursday. The airstrikes coincided with artillery fire east of Khan Yunis. This escalation comes more than a month after a ceasefire was supposed to take hold. Meanwhile, reports indicate that occupation has destroyed more than 1,500 buildings since the truce began, fueling fears the agreement is now collapsing. Gaza's health system is in a near total collapse. A month after a ceasefire, patients are suffering. Medical facilities were destroyed in the war. A tight siege continues, and critically ill people are waiting for evacuations that are slow to come. Osama Ayadi reports.
The Gaza Strip is still witnessing a silent humanitarian tragedy. Despite the ceasefire agreement that has been put in place for nearly a month, the sanitary and healthcare conditions reveal the critical stage of the catastrophe that people are enduring. The healthcare situation represents one of the most horrific examples of the tragedy. Here in Gaza, the sick and wounded face a slow death in front of hospitals groaning under overcrowding. Several Palestinians face the risk of losing their lives at any moment. These civilians who were injured in Zionist bombing that left no stone unturned are living in catastrophic circumstances due to the lack or sometimes total absence of medical supplies. Other Palestinians could not even secure a place in the half-destroyed hospitals.
I have been waiting for surgery for 50 days, and my surgery shouldn't be delayed because I have transection in the spinal cord. Also, there are thousands of people waiting for surgery rooms. I also have vertebral fractures, and I can't breathe.
The story of every patient in these hospitals embodies the tragedy of an entire population. The Zionist war machine destroyed the majority of healthcare facilities in Gaza, and more than 1,000 medical personnel were killed over the course of 2 years of a barbaric war that scorched everything in its path.
Before the war, Nasser Medical Complex used to conduct around 35 or 40 surgeries, almost in all periods. Now Nasser Medical Complex conducts no less than at least 100 surgeries daily. We put ourselves under pressure and try to work during night shifts, as well as staying overnight to conduct surgeries. But despite this does not meet the needs of 700,000 citizens.
The patients and wounded are waiting every day for treatment in a dilapidated healthcare system ravaged by death and destruction. They may have to wait even longer as Gaza's hospitals are overwhelmed with far greater numbers. The healthcare sector in Gaza has witnessed some of the most horrific and brutal massacres in history. Medical teams are forced to make agonizing decisions about who to admit, while many patients and wounded are left without treatment. The Gaza Strip is a witness of an unprecedented humanitarian tragedy, with patients and wounded having no choice but to wait amidst endless waiting lists and hanging hopes.
Still with Palestine-related news, extremist settlers set fire to a mosque west of Salfit in the occupied West Bank early Thursday, leaving racist slogans on its walls. The Hajj Ahmida Mosque between Deir Istiya and Kafel Harris suffered damage to windows and other parts. The Palestinian Ministry of Religious Endowments condemned the attack, warning that no place of worship is safe amid ongoing settler violence. In another provocative move, extremist Zionists at Marbin Kfir stormed Palestinian homes in the cities of Ramla and Lod. Video shows him accompanied by occupation forces threatening residents. In Iraq, Election Commission announced preliminary parliamentary results Wednesday with turnout at 59.11%. Prime Minister Mohammed Shia Sudani of the Reconstruction and Development Coalition leads with 1.3 million votes. In a televised address, Sudani congratulated the coalition and promised to represent all Iraqis, including those who boycotted, saying Iraq belongs to everyone.
We affirm that the next phase will include negotiations based on a unified and responsible national spirit aimed at shaping the new government, a competent government capable of implementing programs and commitments, proceeding with service delivery and protecting the country's highest interests is not a matter of compromise, but rather requires clarity and courage in decision-making.
Moving on to a different matter, Algerian Minister of State and Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf met with UN Libya envoy Hannah Tata to discuss efforts to guide Libya towards stability, security and sovereignty. The UN representative briefed Attaf on a roadmap for Libya, including steps to set up a legal framework for elections, unify executive institutions and hold a national dialogue ahead of a presidential and parliamentary polls. Algerian Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf reaffirmed Algeria's support for UN efforts in Libya, stressing that elections are the only path out of the country's crisis. Attaf told UN envoy Hannah Tata that Algeria rejects all foreign interference in Libya and updated her on the outcomes of a November 6 ministerial meeting of Libya's neighboring countries held in Algiers. The UN and African Union emphasized continued coordination to support Libya's political process, national reconciliation and inclusive elections. At the 9th annual AU-UN conference in New York, both sides reaffirmed their commitment to peace in Libya and to strengthening cooperation on security and development. They announced the 10th conference will be held in 2026 in Addis Ababa to further deepen their strategic partnership. Somalia's President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud has wrapped up a 3-day official visit to Algeria. The president, leading a high-level delegation, finalized several new agreements to boost cooperation between the two countries. Lebanese President Joseph Aoun congratulated Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune on the anniversary of the Algerian Revolution, praising the strong fraternal ties between the two nations and wishing continued health and prosperity. Similarly, DR Congo's President Felix Tshisekedi sent his congratulations on behalf of himself and the Congolese people, expressing readiness to strengthen friendship and cooperation with Algeria. Mozambique's President Daniel Chapa and Niger's President Abdurrahman Tiani also extended their congratulations, wishing prosperity for Algeria and reaffirming their commitment to closer ties. German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier thanked Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune for his humanitarian gesture toward Boualem Sansal, saying it reflects the strong relations between trust between Germany and Algeria. Steinmeier praised Tebboune's response to his pardon request, noting Sansal's popularity in Germany and welcoming the positive outcome of his release.
I am pleased that the Algerian president has responded to my request to grant a pardon to writer Boualem Sansal, who has many readers and friends in Germany. This matter was of great personal concern to me, and it is indeed a positive thing that he is now free. I would like to thank my Algerian counterpart, President Abdelmadjid Tebboune, for this important humanitarian gesture, which also reflects the quality of relations and the mutual trust between Germany and Algeria.
On a similar note, Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune and German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier discussed the strong friendly ties between their countries. During a Thursday phone call, both leaders highlighted the mutual respect that underpins Algerian-German relations, the Algerian presidency said. Algerian ambassador to Belgium Mohammed Al-Amin Ben Shrif highlighted Algeria's economic potential and investment opportunities during a ceremony marking the 71st anniversary of the Algerian War of Independence. The event in Brussels was attended by Belgian and Luxembourg officials, EU representatives, and international organizations. It concluded with a fashion show showcasing traditional Algerian clothing, celebrating the country's heritage.
Congratulations on the Algerian Independence Day. I understand that Algeria started its revolution in 1954 and achieved its independence in 1962. Ambassador Ben Sharif and me, and Algeria and Japan are very good friends.
Today, the relations between our two countries are witnessing remarkable progress in various fields of cooperation. We're working together to strengthen these ties and build a better future for our peoples.
Algerian Minister of Knowledge, Economy, Startups and Micro-Enterprises Nouraddin Wadah announced that Algeria is now one of the top 5 African countries with a unicorn-level startup, highlighting the booming startup ecosystem in the country. Speaking at a press conference ahead of the 4th African Startup Conference slated to be held in Algiers next month, Wadah emphasized the importance of empowering Algerian and African youth to build a new and innovation-driven economy.
Today, Algerian ecosystem is booming. It started from scratch in 2020. In 2023, we have been ranked second ecosystem in Africa by international institutions in terms of number of created startups. It was in 2023. Today, we have in Algeria, as I have mentioned in the beginning, when you are talking about Africa, there is only 5 countries having unicorns in their ecosystem, and Algeria is one of them. And let me tell you that, inshallah, in 2026, we expect to have a second unicorn and maybe a third one for the Algerian ecosystem. So today, World Bank or African Bank or any international institution can come in Algeria and launch a fund within 2 weeks only, and within a very small amount of money. So the GPLP legal framework today in Algeria allows any private company, any institutional fund all over the world, or any businessman in Algeria to launch a fund in few weeks and with a small amount of money.
Pharmaceutical Industry Minister Wassim Kouidri announced that Algeria will host the African Ministerial Conference on Medicines and Health Technologies from November 27 to 29. Held with the WHO, the event will gather ministers and experts to strengthen Africa's pharmaceutical sector. WHO Representative Fanuel Habimana praised Algeria's capabilities and its leading role in sharing expertise across the continent.
Algeria has made progress in this field. It now produces 82% of its medicines locally and has around 250 pharmaceutical production units, which is equivalent to 1/3 of all production units on the African continent. Algeria plays a leading role in sharing its expertise with other African countries, particularly in mobilizing resources, strengthening capacities, and transferring technology.
Still with Algeria-related news, Air Algeria received on Thursday at Houari Boumediene International Airport in Algiers its first Airbus A330 neo aircraft as part of its fleet renewal and expansion program. In his address during the reception ceremony, Air Algeria CEO Hamza bin Hamouda indicated that their new aircraft represents a significant leap forward in the company's modernization plan, which includes the acquisition of 8 Boeing 337 MAX 9 aircraft and 8 Airbus A330 neo aircraft.
In
a moment of symbolic significance for the modernization of air transport, we welcome the first A330neo as part of an 8-aircraft acquisition program. This step reflects the company's ambitious vision and its determination to position Air Algeria within the regional and global civil aviation arena. The aircraft's reception marks the start of a new phase in fleet development and a qualitative shift in our operations and future services. Our aim is to make Algiers International Airport a key transit hub linking Africa, Europe, and Asia, a momentum that will be reinforced by the gradual delivery of 16 additional aircraft under the ongoing program.
For his part, the Vice President of Commercial Operations for Africa and the Middle East, Airbus, Ilhadi praised the historic relationship between Air Algeria and Airbus, affirming that the Algerian airliner will become a leader in Africa upon completion of the delivery of the remaining planes.
This partnership spans more than 4 decades, built on mutual trust and shared ambition. We proudly recall that it began in 1984 when Air Algeria chose Airbus as a strategic partner with the acquisition of the wide-body A310. Airbus, in turn, has always valued having a partner like Air Algeria, a partnership that enabled Airbus to begin delivering a new generation of aircraft, with your fleet now including 8 A330s and another 10 A330neo aircraft on the way. Air Algeria is poised to become Africa's leading operator of the A330 family, a bold step forward and a testament to your long-term vision.
Meanwhile, Algerian Interior Minister Said Sayoud affirmed that the country is working to continue modernizing air transport by developing airport infrastructure and modernizing the Algiers International Airport.
The process of acquiring new aircraft over the coming years aims to meet growing domestic and international demand and to provide air transport that allows passengers to travel comfortably and under good conditions. In this regard, these measures, which will stimulate air traffic activity across national airports, call for creating a new dynamic within airports that meets citizens' expectations and raises service standards. This includes carrying out numerous projects related to airport infrastructure, particularly the modernization of Algiers International Airport, which is expected to be implemented in the near future. Thank you.
Air Algeria is taking flight into a new era. With the arrival of its first Airbus A33 or A330 new aircraft, the airline begins a bold expansion to modernize its fleet, open new long-haul routes, and rise as Africa's leading air transport hub. Miriam Zian reports.
Air Algeria spreads its wings across the region in an ambitious move that reflects a new vision. The objective? Strengthening the capacities of Algeria's national airline to compete with major carriers on long-haul routes, enabling Air Algeria to break into promising new markets while offering high-quality services that meet international standards.
To open new routes across Asia, Africa, Europe, and the Americas. This strategy aims to enhance existing services, develop new ones, and build an international network, offering higher quality and more frequent connections.
A strategy is taking shape through a large-scale operation, the acquisition of Airbus A330neo aircraft.
The Airbus 330neo airplane is fitted with Rolls-Royce engines, which are the most modern engines in the world nowadays. The technology that was added to the Airbus 330neo airplane compared to the previous A330 enables it to reduce fuel consumption by approximately 20%. This allows Algeria's air transport to occupy a high position compared to the competitors, which are the foreign and European air companies that compete in this field.
From the heart of Toulouse, the European stronghold of aviation giant Airbus, Air Algeria has begun receiving the first aircraft under this planned program, becoming the largest A330 operator in Africa. A turning point for Air Algeria in the field of air transport, particularly in terms of technological excellence.
We are now positioning ourselves in the long-haul flight sector. This new generation of aircraft is equipped with powerful, energy-efficient engines and offers significant environmental advantages. These features allow us to reduce operating costs and lower prices. The aircraft also benefits from reduced maintenance expenses. Combined, these factors will enable us to open long-haul routes while ensuring a high level of competitiveness in the market.
This latest acquisition reflects the company's determination to modernize its services and adapt to the profound shifts in the sector through rigorous investment in strategic partnerships with global leaders in civil aviation, all in service of its customers in Algeria and abroad, with the broader goal of strengthening national transport capabilities and stimulating the country's economy.
Look in Eastern Europe now. The Kremlin warned that if Ukraine refuses dialogue, it will face negotiations from a far weaker position. Commenting on Kyiv's suspension of talks, Kremlin's spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Ukraine's situation is worsening daily and that it will have to negotiate with Moscow sooner or later. And that's the end of our news program for tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great night.